President Robinson, anyone as of right now?
No, and I posed the question at the start of the meeting, so.
Okay, but we will do as usual, we'll give them another 30 seconds just in case someone would like to be able to do that. We always want to make sure that we give that opportunity for our public to make their comment. And while we're sitting there waiting, does anybody else want to share anything that was extraordinary at the conference or session that you went to that was extraordinary?
For the first time,
Yep.
at the delegate assembly, we did not get through all of the resolutions.
A 4-hour session,
Really?
Yes.
4-hour session.
4 hours started at 1:30. We could have continued to go probably well into the night, but wow.
The only reason it stopped is because we lost quorum.
Really?
Yes,
Is there any of them any of the ones that we actually had our question mark relationship to?
surprisingly not. We thought, for example, for me, that the voter education, which took up about 45 minutes to an hour of discussion,
Really?
that little word, voter education, seemed to really, really spur a lot of discussion and in some instances, debate. Lots of amendments got presented on probably every resolution. The first probably 10 resolutions, the first resolution came out of the box with an amendment. And we moved to the second resolution and there were maybe 2 or 3 amendments. Then we'd move to the third. And so, yeah.
So basically people were trying to wordsmith everything that was kind of going on or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy interesting.
So, and our very own board member Dorinthia served as the town timekeeper.
Yes.
So there were 2 of us in the assembly. I was in the delegate seat and she was sitting on the dais, however you pronounce it,
Mhm.
and just keeping time. And yeah, I did not envy her job.
And Mr. Ross Miller caught me in the hallway and said, please give a heartfelt thank you to your board member for being a timekeeper. So I'll pass that on to you now. Thank
Wow.
you,
Okay.
knowing that you did not even finish.
Wow. So what are they gonna do now since they weren't able to finish?
It's put on for next year, if it gets placed on next year.
So every item now is going to be
Everything
move
that did,
forward 12 months from now.
yeah.
Whatever was left, it was only a few left,
I think,
but
yeah, and it happened to be one of the resolutions that had about 15 parts to it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Interesting. Anyone comment? All right. Well, right now, what we will do is, since we do not have any public comments, we will move forward. Let's go on to our consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion?
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes of the December 6th, 2022 special board meeting, the December 13th, 2022 regular board meeting, and the schedule of voucher payments via check, ACH, and wire transfers in the amount of $1,073,918.81 in the general checking account and the food service account, including funds 10, 21, 27, 39, 46, 50, and 80, and the January 24th, 2023 school safety drill update as presented.
All right. Motion has been made. We have a second. Is that Ms. Macon? All right. Motion has been made and seconded. Before we go to vote, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and or aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 7-0. All right, let's go on to our item number 5, 5B, approval of the general education and special education open enrollment seat. So, Mr. Clement.
Yeah, so we took a little while to kind of do our final calculations. I did receive the Baird model and went through the cohort survival method to just kind of verify what we're anticipating our seats, children in seats will be next year. And so that's what you see as part of this this conversation. So we talked about it a couple weeks ago, we are seeing obviously a decline in open enrollment in. We are seeing that increase in open enrollment out. So while I know that We feel like we do have a lot of resident students in the district. We also do have the piece where having the extra revenue from some open enrollment in students does assist. So we've gone from 72 a couple years ago to 65, 54, and right now we're projecting 41 if we don't admit any additional students next year. Highly concentrated at 11th and 12th grade, and then just a few kind of sprinkled out down to 3rd grade. So after we look at, so I did create a new chart for you to show you, which is the 2nd page of the memo, which kind of goes through every grade level, what we project enrollment to be, what our recommended class size would be, the number of sections, and do the calculations. And so when we do that, and then the other piece that we're kind of doing is we're using that second last column where I say seats held. These would be new resident students, or it can also be if we happen to peel back some of our open enrollment out and they have to be sitting in our seats next year. So I wanted to save some of that because, as you know, every year, we did a study last year, which I shared with you, that every year from September through the course of the year, we always see an increase throughout the year. So we're always getting new students and we always have a net increase at that point. So I want to make sure we leave space for them as well. So I'm kind of using this 10 number as a rough thing. I'm not anticipating 130 students showing up across all grade levels, but at any particular grade level, having 10 students join is not out of the question. So I just want to leave that buffer to some extent. And when we do that, and then in consultation again with our building administrators, we see we really have 2 grades where we have some openings due to their class sizes, where we have the 6th grade class. I know last year we were talking about last time, I should say, we were talking about all of middle school, but when we reanalyze the attendance piece, we do expect a little bit of a bump in 6th grade. So we're really looking at only 7th and 8th grade as potential spots for open enrollment students. 6 students at 7th grade, 8 at 6 at 7th grade, and 10 at 8th grade. None at the high school, none at the elementary school. So adding the 16 into the 41 that we were projecting puts us at 57, which would basically put us about where we are this year, a little bit up. So it helps mitigate a continued decline in open enrollment in revenue.
What about this 4th grade with the projection of 88? We are looking at potentially being able to have any open enrolled seats.
Well, right now,
4th grade?
4th grade, right now, we have one section in elementary school that has we have one grade that has 4 sections. Right now, it's 3rd grade. We have about 88 students in that right now. We are projecting to move that 4-section grade up to 4th grade. So we're not at the point, when you see the negative number for potential seats, that means you're slightly over the average, but we would never add another section for just one student. But if we get up to 10 extra students or something like that, then we would look at adding a section. So as we go through the rest of the school year, as enrollment starts, one of the things that I will have in my back pocket will be another section of a grade. But we thought that might happen 2 years ago. It didn't happen. We thought it could happen this year. It didn't happen. So that grade has been pretty consistent. So unless we had an influx of students, we're comfortable with just using 4 sections instead of adding a teacher and then having to open enroll in a bunch of students to fill that void. Because again, if it does naturally bump up and we have to do it, I'd hate to also have a large group of open enrollment students in there at the same time.
Board members, questions? So for all intents and purposes, then we're looking at trying to only add 16 open enrolled seats?
That is correct. And that's all regular education. We wouldn't, we do a separate motion for the special education where we aren't accepting any directly through the special education programs. There may be students who apply for regular open enrollment that will have IEPs and they may get in if we are able to offer services, or they may be identified and be evaluated for an IEP once they get here. We won't know that. That doesn't include them being the students that get selected. So, but right now we're focusing on those 16 seats for regular education, 7th and 8th grade.
Board members, questions for Mr. Klimek in relationship to our open enrollment? This is Ashley.
What happens when you have more students who are seeking open enrollment than we are proposing?
And then we have a waiting list. We only have to keep waiting lists for grades where we have seats. So we don't, we will have hundreds of people apply, and we will have people apply for grades which we have no seats, and they will use up one of their 3, because every parent can apply to 3 school districts. They use one of them for us. And I hear the phone ring every day, and Amanda Stewart, our registrar, explains to everybody, don't have seats, don't waste it, go apply at 3 districts that would have potential. But so for those 2 grades, we'd have a waiting list for all the kids that were on there. But we come up with a list of who's on, who is there. I guarantee you we'll have more names than we will have spots. We then go through a random draw process for those initial seats, and then the rest are put into an order for a waiting list. And so we send out, for 7th grade, we'll send out 6 letters to those initial families, say you've been accepted. They have a certain window to accept. If they don't accept, they don't respond, then their seat is given up, and we go to the next person on the list. And so we will maintain a waiting list for those 2 grades, but all the other grades, anybody who applies at those levels will just get letters that we have no.
Any other questions? Board members, any other questions for Mr. Klimick in relationship to open enrollment?
Do we have any projections yet on potential based on new developments within the village?
If you saw the news a couple weeks ago, I know they're talking about another apartment development or by the old Mutual Savings Bank headquarters, but I haven't heard what the development is. They just talk about residential. They haven't been specific as to what kind of development, number of apartments or whatever it may be. So I don't have that information, and that's certainly probably a year plus down the road. I'll continue to keep an eye on it, so.
And I think that'll probably be one of the things that myself and Dr. Brown, Ms. Peter actually will be looking at when we have our combined meeting with the village. When the school district and the village have our bi-monthly meetings, to be able to do that and potentially ask that question as well too. So we can stay abreast of it, and just in case, if there are anything where we would think we can end up with potential more students coming in because of the apartments.
I mean, we
Or
do know,
condos.
yeah, we do know right now that we don't, I don't have the exact number, but I think it's just a handful of students from either the Bevy or the Green Link, which are the 2 new developments in the village. So they're not currently being leased by families with children in our district. So I don't know what the level of their apartments or housing, I don't know what that'll look like, and that may impact whether or not we would see an increase based on whatever opens up. We'll have to see. Again, be conversation with the village as we go forward.
Okay.
All right. So with that being said, would someone like to make a motion to approve the 6 open enrollment seats for 7th grade and 10 for 8th grade? Regular. We got to do 2, it's 2 motions.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 6 open enrollment seats for 7th grade and 10 for regular open enrollment seats for 8th grade for the 23-24 school year.
All right, motion has been made. Do we have a second? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Bacon. Motion has been made and second. Any other conversation or discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and/or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. And our next motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve 0 special education open enrollment seats for the 23-24 school year.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made. Do we have a second? All right, Ms. Bacon is seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and/or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. All right, let's go on now to our item C, our 23-24 4K and our K-5 through 12th grade instructional calendars. Dr. Kelsey Brown?
Yes, Dr. Beal, I would like to table this agenda item this evening. We did provide an opportunity for our staff to look at the calendar and provide feedback, but we want, since we have a PO day this Friday, we want to run it by staff one more time for additional feedback. And so the idea would be we would bring this back to the board for the February special board meeting for approval.
Dr. Kelsey Brown, was there any like particular days, or was there something that was really that the staff actually looked at when they saw both instructional calendars that gave them pause? Was there anything in particular?
Questions center around the virtual days. If you recall our current calendar that we're working around, we had quite a few half-day releases prior to a holiday. And so for us to increase our instructional minutes so we can certainly impact student achievement, those half-day release days are no longer in our calendar. So those are full days. there was a question about in August, they're not, in August, when we begin, there aren't consecutive PD days. But we're only allotted 5 days to pay staff before the school year begins. And so there's one day in there where staff do not have to report. The idea behind that was staff also have children that they're preparing for school as well. So we thought we would give that day if they need to go out and do. Now, they're welcome to come to the district if they want. But in preparation for staff who have children, we looked at that as a day where they could do that. The other piece was the middle school start time was right up against when the kids come, like it was a 5-minute window between the kids coming, staff arrival and kids coming.
Only a 5-minute difference?
Right. And so we changed the request for the middle school start time was 7:05. So the teachers can get here have some time to be here before the kids, and also so Mr. Young can have meetings in the morning.
So what time does staff actually supposed to report?
They are, you mean now or moving forward?
Moving forward. They're
7:05,
supposed to be here at 7:05, and what time does that first bus come in?
7:30-ish.
So does that enough, that 25-minute window?
Yeah, that's enough time. My kids do pretty good about coming into the buildings and get to where they need to be.
So those are the major things.
Those were the major ones.
Dr. Glass, anything else from you?
Did I miss
that you go
anything,
through?
Kevin?
Dr. Glass or Kevin?
We did add, spring break, Good Friday and Easter weekend is during spring break next year. So we added a holiday day on Monday. Otherwise it would have been during spring break. So yeah, the Monday that follows Easter will be the Good Friday holiday.
Yes,
Dr.
on
Glass,
the 29th.
anything?
I think there was one additional question about only having a week for
No.
December because they lost one of the days.
First of all, next year also is a leap year, so there's an extra day in that. We have 188 days that we're asking teachers to work. That's what we're using as our contracted year. And so we have to kind of fill in the puzzle as to what we want to do. We also want to make sure we were increasing staff or student time in-person instruction. So we're up to 172 or 173 days, I don't know off the top of my head, for students to be in the building as well. So anytime you shift something, if somebody wants an extra day off at Christmas, well, it's like, well, where does that go? Where does that day get added back into the calendar? So
173
173.
student days.
So we're increasing that. We're trying to be, we increased the teacher days from 185 to 188 last year. We shortened the day itself. So we had that conversation this year. So it's just trying to balance out all those things. So we did do, we did have a year where we had a very long Christmas break, but in order to get those days back, we had to, actually they're still getting off the Friday before the Christmas weekend, which Christmas that falls on Sunday and Monday next year. So we're trying to provide some of that, but we can't do, you have to, the big puzzle as to where you pull things from and put them in other stuff.
So Dr. Glass, how many PD days are we actually looking at now? If we kind of if it kind of stays the same, how many PD days are we looking at?
We're looking at, so we have the August PD days, but for the regular school year.
So that'd be that 4 in August, right? 5 in August.
Right, you have one in September, one in October. The next one would be in January. I'm sorry.
So no PD
October.
days in
I'm sorry,
November?
November, yes,
Okay.
November. No PD day in January. We do February, yes. March, yes. April, yes, and May, yes.
So is that 11?
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 5 in August makes
12.
12.
Okay, I was one off. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. All right.
Any other questions?
Board member, any other questions about the instructional calendar? And so what we'll have to do, if there aren't any questions, we'll have, sorry.
The one question I was trying to see where it is. So we're moving high school graduation next year?
It will be June 1st.
So what caused the shift? I'm just curious, because it's been that holiday weekend for the last few years.
Well, the holiday is on the 27th. Memorial Day, and so the next Saturday is the first. Are you suggesting the 25th? On that Saturday?
Yeah, that's how it's been. So that's why I was wondering why the shift.
Well, part of it is that we had to kick the year out a little bit, so we want to make sure again to have those 172 days. So with seniors getting out a week early, so they're taking exams after Memorial Day, and then they're done that weekend, and then the rest of the students come back and do exams before the last.
And also the rationale behind Memorial Day weekend. Remember when we were going out for when we were out for the referendum, we got moved that year, and then we just stayed with it for Memorial Day weekend. So, but the extension is also a part of that as well.
All right. Any other questions? All right, so would someone can make a motion to table?
I will make a motion to table the instructional calendars till the next board meeting in February.
But we gotta put the 2023,
Yeah, you gotta
24,
read the.
and be able to add the K4 because it's two separate calendars. Yeah.
Am I doing two motions then?
No, it's the same motion, but
I'll make a motion to table the 2023-24 4K and K5 through 12 instructional calendars until the February special meeting.
all right. Motion has been made. Do I have a second? All right, Ms. Robinson is a second. I'm sorry, Ms. Bacon is seconded. All right, any discussion? Hearing seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing seeing none, this will be tabled. All right, let's go on now to our, let's see, and that would also be D as well too then.
Right.
Yep, so, all right.
No, not B. So this B is.
Discussion approval of the 2022,
This is for the
23
current-
K5.
Current calendar we were in, so the way that the calendar was originally presented, our students were coming back to school after they would have taken exam. The freshmen, the sophomores, and the juniors. And so what we're proposing is the seniors take their exams on May 30th, 31st, and June 1st, which gives us an opportunity to work with some of the students who may be on the cusp, that we can get, right over for graduation. And then the sophomores and juniors, their instruction will continue and they will take their exams June 2nd, 5th, and 6th, and that would end their school year.
So for this year then, when is graduation this year?
Graduation this year, June 3rd.
So, but you got people taking exams the first and the second? Seniors? So I guess my question then comes down
So our
to,
student finals this year are May 30th.
31st and.
I'm sorry, our student finals for this year are May 30th, 31st, and June 1st. So you still have that Friday for kids who might need to do some makeup, and then graduation is June 3rd. You always have a few kids in there that just kind of give that extra lift to get them over.
I was just wondering in relationship to that, to those students that may be right there on that borderline and they need to pass those exams in order to get that credit, in order to be able to graduate.
They still have the second, they still have Friday.
And then graduation is the following day.
So that's not.
All right, I'll just, yeah. All right. All right.
So just to have our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors take their exams, and then that would end their school year rather than bringing them back.
Did we bring them back in the past, or is this just a glitch?
I don't believe you brought them back in the past. No, it doesn't, like, what kind of instruction will be provided right after they're done? And Ms. Brown caught this. That's a great question.
And that's a different date too, because this is that adjustment off of that Memorial Day weekend. So
Yeah.
could that be why?
The last calendar stopped at Memorial Day
Okay,
weekend.
weekend.
So does this impact our,
I'm sorry.
it's okay, so typically seniors have been done prior to graduation, and then the week following graduation is when underclassmen take their exams. They're out of the building altogether, but because of the way that the graduation falls.
Ms. Peterson, you had a
We're
question?
still meeting our minimum required number of days then with these shifts and changes.
why are the freshmen, the sophomores and the juniors they're not coming back either? Because they're taking their exams at the same time that the seniors are?
No.
They're gonna finish out that instructional period. Okay.
Any other questions? Let's shift this, or anything else you'd like to be able to add, Dr. Kelsey Brown?
No, that's it.
All right,
Okay, so then I'll make a motion.
all right. Go ahead, speak.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2022-23 K-5 through 12 instructional calendar revisions as presented.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Bacon. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Ashley. All right, motion has been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously, 7-0. All right.
Thank you.
All right, now let's go on to our next item, approval of resignations. Mr. Clement?
I will make the next three very easy because there are no resignations, there are no hires, there are no retirements.
All right.
We may still have a retirement at the next one, but as of now, we have not. You can move on to item H.
All right, let's go to item number H, a discussion of February 23 second Friday count. All right, so unanimously always named third count Friday. So, Mr. Clement, what would that be, Ms. Glass?
Well, we're in the process of completing it. It is in January. It's called the second Friday count. It took place a week ago Friday. The report is due to DPI this week. The business office is responsible. Kathy Kelser, our accountant, does all of that. It is a little more complicated than the original one because you have to look at where all the students that were here in September, track all of the ins and outs, and then provide that information to the DPI. So all of the buildings have done the count. She has all of that data and is now working through. There's always a very specific questions about specific students, making sure that where this student was placed, or did they come back, or what the situation is. So she's working through all that. And I don't have numbers for you yet. I'll have that certainly at the next meeting. We'll know what we filed with DPI for our count. And that, again, this count plus the September count get divided in half, and that's part of, or get averaged, I should say. And then that's what's used for our equalization aid for next year.
All right. All right, so was that, okay. Any questions? Any questions for Kevin? All right, let's go on to item I, discussion of Neola policy revisions. First reading.
Here.
I don't have any attachment. There's no attachment there. So I don't know if we.
There's an
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was, oh, yeah. Definitely.
Thank you.
It's there.
So this is the first policy that we've been recommended by DPI to review this policy. So it's the first policy that Neola and the DPI have combined together. What it is it takes the older policy, and given the new environment in which reconsiderations are happening of both curricular materials as well as instructional and then recreational materials in the libraries. It kind of tightens up the processes and the procedures of how those reconsideration policies are made. And so we didn't have necessarily prior to that a very tight process. And so what this does is this kind of fully articulates the method through which, if a challenge or request for reconsideration was made, the process then that we'll go through. And it just articulates the complaint, that process where somebody would have a concern, then that concern then would come to myself, and then I'd go to Dr. Brown, and then potentially the final reconsideration would be at the board level. So it just kind of tightens up that whole process, and I think that the biggest concern was that in those districts that are in the news, that are receiving those challenges, they don't have processes or procedures articulated well. And so Neola did a really great job of trying to get ahead of that. And so, so again, like I said before, this is the first policy that Neola and DPI have collaborated on in terms of libraries, and so it's good. It's good.
Okay, so I guess I want to go to that last page where, see, because one of the things, and we also know has been a little bit of a lightning rod in relationship to library materials and certain materials being able to stay on the shelves and other items that have been said, no, we're taking those off. So within this policy and the way that this is being read, there is the building level principle first that says, I just want to make sure that we're going through this correctly. Building level principle first comes up with, works with their committee to say, these are, is that kind of how this says, how this written, it reads, that the building level principle actually starts this off if there is an issue in relationship to any of the materials that are there?
So I think that it depends on where the complaint is made. So it could possibly go to, I don't know, what page are you looking on, sir?
Where it says a reconsideration.
Reconsideration,
Will
yeah.
be appointed by the district administrator upon receipt of the formal complaint, which shall consist of the following.
Oh, so
Right, so the procedure reconsideration committee will be as follows. The chairperson will be the building level principal or designee, then the secretary of the committee will be elected at the first meeting. The chairperson will call that meeting within 10 business days, formation of the committee, blah, 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 skippy, move forward. That committee will make a recommendation. That recommendation goes to the superintendent, and then whatever that recommendation does comes out to the board for approval. I just wanted to make sure that it read that way. Did everybody else read this thing the same way that I just read it?
So what would happen is if someone filed a complaint and, so this is all in line with commentary around critical race theory and what that is and what that means in school districts. But so if this were to come our way, the way that Steve interpreted it for us, we're on this call with Mr. Bloom, right? Is we, at the discretion of the district administrator, I would formalize this committee comprised of these individuals to investigate that particular book, video, film, whatever it is. So I don't think it didn't appear to me, and what I heard from Steve, it's not a chain of command here. It is formulating a committee that can consist of these individuals who are noted in this document.
right. And I think it was, I apologize, I've never really seen what it looks like on the other end. So, but I think it was really, it's option 3 that we chose. So, to proceed with, and so it goes, the policy of reconsideration goes to the library media specialist. Then because you have the.
So option 3 is the option that you guys would like to do.
Yes. So which runs a little different. So, and I think because in our district, we are fortunate enough to have a library media specialist in each building. They are highly qualified, certified individuals with master's degrees and teaching certifications. You also have the luxury of having me, who is the district library director with an administrator's license, who's able to then kind of oversee, create those policies. And so what happens then is yes, that is the general flow. Typically, it goes to the librarian, myself, and then the principal becomes aware. And then what we try to do is resolve the matter, informally. And then if it's not, resolved informally, then there's a whole process that they need to go through. It's a written form that they have to do. They have to read the request in its entirety. And then usually, typically that's where it fails. Like, so and that's typically is where most reconsideration requests cease, is because they don't read it in its entirety, and then nor do they actually make a formal written complaint. And so, and then at that point, they answer all of those pieces there. And then if we cannot, get to that point, then again, within 30 days, there is a muted to the board through a request to the district administrator. To you.
So then on the next revision of this, will options 1 and 2 be taken out?
They would, yeah.
Okay.
So, but I think that's where, and I can share with you kind of like what we tightened up in terms of our language and our terminology. So like what we would like the policy to look like. So, in terms of those options that we chose, striking out those other comments or those other options there to show you what the full policy would look like in its But Neola gives you kind of like, it's the most, I think, kind of loose, and then it's kind of more tightened up and formalized and, so it gives you options, like you can check option 1, option 2, option 3, and you can go through each block, and suggest that, so. But what you're seeing is all of those options together.
So
Okay.
let's send the final to the board tomorrow, what we chose. I know Steve mocked it up or marked it up.
Yeah, so, and I have that as well, so I apologize for not bringing that. So, but yeah, we have that identified specifically, which recommendations, we do. And again, the end result is that we, again, trying to make sure that we honor the concern and that they're heard, and that we try to come to an understanding as to why. We have a whole selection policy. We have a criteria through which we select library and instructional materials. And those funds, often are perceived sometimes in explaining where, those dollars come from. They're not necessarily taxpayer funds. They're through the Common School Fund, and things like that. And so, kind of trying to come to it from that end. But then also, having just a determined process that in the end, we, ultimately the information is presented to the board then could make a decision. And then that decision stands for, I believe it's, 3 to 5 years. I think we talked to each other.
I think we did 3. My memory serves me correct, yeah. If my memory serves me correct.
So that nobody else can reconsider that item or like item again, for a period of 3 years. So.
Board members, questions?
And when do we expect to get the draft? We'll send it email tomorrow. Okay.
We can do that. Yeah, absolutely.
So the draft will come to the board tomorrow in order, and that'll be an agenda item for the next board meeting?
Which will be the second reading.
So you'll
right?
see the final revision and then hopefully then we would be able to vote on that.
Anything within this first reading that you saw that would give you pause to make you say, you know what? Is there something else that we'd like to be able to add into it? And this is actually right now is this an informational item for us, so we're not voting on this tonight, but it's an informational item. But always be aware that when we ever have these informational items, you have certain questions or certain things that you would like to be able to get added to and or taken out. This is the perfect opportunity to be able to get that done now before the second reading.
Well, first readings have to be approved. So if you are doing a first reading, vote, and then you vote again for the second.
No, we gotta see.
If you feel, it depends if you feel like you have enough knowledge of what the draft, looks like with option 3, that you're comfortable, and then you'll have a second opportunity to see it in full with any revisions, that would have been eliminated. So that's really helpful.
I would really like to see.
Yeah.
Let's see the draft first. Plus, it's not on our motion, our motions for the evening.
Yeah, first reading would be approved.
All right, let's move forward. Board reports.
So can I just ask a question?
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
clarification? Are we looking for the first reading to appear again on the special board?
Yes,
agenda?
yes. So then that way we can approve.
And then the second will go on the final February board agenda then?
Correct. Are we under any kind of timeline or anything with this, Ms. Turner?
No, sir. So I think, obviously you would, I say every day, and I was at a CISA network meeting, today, that I am so fortunate to be employed in a district where we have a board that trusts in us, in myself, in my staff. And we have a preponderance of the community that trusts in us and what we do and what we provide for our children. So we can get it done, and we can do the first reading, we'll get to the revisions, you can do the first reading at the next meeting, and then, and then the following meeting, yeah, that's fine, so no need to rush, but I'm not anything I'm concerned about.
And Ms. Turner, do you already have like a committee already in place that you would utilize just, in order for?
So what the policy does dictate is that we would have, like, it's a parent, it's a teacher or a department member, it's the principal, the district administrator, it would be myself, and then and then it could be, another board member or whatever. So it pulls that committee together, it's articulated in the policy. So
Would the director of teaching and learning be part of that committee as well too, since this could potentially be something in relationship
So
to
this is
learning?
just library materials, so there's a whole other policy we're gonna talk about, instructional materials, and that's where Dr. Glass would definitely play a bigger role. If it were related to an item that was in the English department curriculum and we had, like something like that, then yeah, we would pivot there. So there's a district administrator that is on that committee, whether I would represent the library media specialist role and Dr. Glass would be the administrative role.
I probably would sit in on it because I think that anything that we put in front of children is educational, whether it's content related, entertainment. So.
That was kind of what my thought was in relationship to that or whatever, because you also got to remember when students go ahead and they do their research on certain things or whatever have you, what do? They go to our library, they do those other different things or whatever stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's probably better to have more people than less. So, all right. Okay. Thank you. All right, let's go on to our next item. Or were you, I'm sorry, Dr. Brown, were you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then thank you very much, Ms. Turner, for that update. All right, board reports, our SWSA and legislative update.
I did listen to the meeting, and as Dr. Brown said, no one has enough money and they need more. I mean, that's pretty much the summary of what I hear on all these meetings. That's pretty much it. Everyone's trying to figure out how to get more money for their district and how to spend it.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Walker, all right, our WASB.
I don't know, I have a whole heck of a lot without repeating what Dr. Kelsey Bounds did. That's were good, around their district was presented. It's all. Oh, and can you mention the day of the Capitol? They gave a date for that. Did you get? Yes, they did, and I think it was, I don't want to put the wrong date out. I felt like it was
22nd, I think.
February.
March.
March.
It's always in March.
It is March.
Always in March.
Sorry, I do not have the date. I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Okay, we can get that for us. And then also I want to kind of give a quick little update in relationship to, remember we were talking about the board writing and creating and potentially working with other school districts to be able to, draft letters and being able to do that and send to legislators. Just kind of letting you know, need to maybe potentially pause on working with other school districts in relationship to what we'd like to be able to draft in relationship to our letter and being able to do that. So just wanted to have a conversation with WASB in relationship to us moving forward with that. Thank you very much, Ms. Ross, for getting me that information and everything like that. And yeah, we'll move forward, but we'll actually we'll do our own letter and that we'll send out.
But even if we don't partner with another district, does WASB have any templates or suggested?
They have some things that we could potentially that we could use. We just need to make our decision making through diligence when we draft this letter.
So, and I'm wondering, in terms of the timing of the board members on the Capitol in March, is this something that we would want to?
I would like,
find the presentation of our letter to the legislators.
Right, I would like to be able to put our letter together and have ours together by potentially mid-February and being able to do that. At least have it in draft form. And what I would like to be able to do is for all of us to have that input in relationship to this letter that we create. So actually potentially that could be a board agenda item that we do to approve our letter that we'll send out.
Could that be part of our retreat? What is that, the 25th of February? The lobby.
Do we have enough time? Will there be enough time within that and within our retreat? Because we got it set. Is it still 8 to 12? 9 to noon, and then that 3 hours? Is that enough I don't know if that's enough time to be able to do that. Would somebody else actually want to work with me in order to start coming up with a draft? Thank you, Ms. Bacon. Anybody else?
I think, Dr. Brown, did we get something from SWSA had a couple drafts or something?
Yes,
Copy that I have them
We
in.
finalized.
Oh, you did today?
our draft today.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I can share that draft with the board, the 3 essential items that most districts are asking. The majority of the districts sounds like they're asking for are increased dollars around mental health, increasing the teacher pipeline, and
Special education.
Special education.
special education, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And revenue limit authority too.
Yeah.
I was just gonna add if, when the day of the Capitol comes up, this will be the first year. Now granted, we don't have a state senator who's, I think it's vacant right now. I don't know. We're talking with.
Wait a minute, because I think,
Her darlings, well, with her resignation, I don't think there's.
Senator Taylor is.
Right. But you have, what I was gonna say is usually you had one assembly person and one senator and you could hit both meetings with one group, but you're gonna have it, well, at 3 this time and in the future it'll be 4. And most districts that have the multiple representatives they have to meet with, they have to split up. So, if more people are available to, at least you'll probably have to hit both assembly people separately and maybe the senator, we can work together, however they time it out. But with having to do an additional meeting or additional 2 meetings eventually, the more folks that can go, probably the better. You won't be able to do them all at once.
Did we get the date?
It's March 22nd,
That's the day.
Wednesday, day of the Capitol, Wednesday, March.
So day of the Capitol is. Day of the
March
Capitol.
22nd.
Capitol.
What day of the week is that? Wednesday.
So it's Wednesday, March 22nd? Do we have time?
Wednesday, by the way, if anybody cares.
I'm on the WSB website and I don't see anything.
There's usually like there's usually like some advocacy instruction that they go through. They tell you kind of what is in the proposal of the budget. So that usually, I want to say 8:30, you're meeting in Madison at the convention center usually.
All right.
You go through the morning and then usually lunch and then the afternoon is when we schedule those meetings. So whether you are there for the whole thing or you come for the meetings, that's something the critical part. That's been the traditional schedule 3 or 4 years.
All right, sounds good. All right,
It is lobbying. Yeah.
let's go on to item C, our Education Foundation report.
But just kind of business as usual right now with donations coming in, getting ramped up for the scholarship season, starting here in a few weeks. And, still working on building our board. Is a few members are rolling off the board this year. So, anyone who's interested who may be, want to contribute to the Education Foundation, definitely let us know.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. And last but not least, our Park and Rec report.
Okay, January's meeting was canceled. However, the next meeting will be held on February 7th at 6 p.m. And so I do plan on being in attendance.
All right, thank you very much. All right, let's go on to our item number 7, our board planning calendar. 27th of January is a PL day. January 30th, strategic planning meeting at Concordia. Our 2 representatives will be there. And if you can remember to, if you could give us like a nice little report synopsis on what was taking place to be able to share with the board. We make that part of the board packet. February 8th, the Brown Deer Athletic Booster Club meeting is at the Brown Deer North Commons at 6:30. February 10th is another PD day. February 14th, special board meeting. Oh, we did this on Valentine's Day. Okay. All right,
Send the flowers early.
I guess.
Celebrate that weekend early.
Oh.
All right, so February 14th, we have our special school board meeting. February 15th and 16th, evening parent-teacher conferences. The 15th as well is our joint meeting with the Village of Brown Deer and the school district at 5 p.m. February 17th, no school. February 25th is our winter board retreat from 9 to 12. February 27th is our strategic planning meeting at Concordia again with our 2 representatives. And the 28th is our regular board meeting at 6 o'clock p.m.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
So this time, we're not gonna do any morning conferences. They'll both be on those nights, 15th and the 16th, right? Is that what it's saying?
It says evening parent-teacher conferences. So are all of them all in person or is there no virtual options this time?
First evening will be in person, the second evening will be virtual. We've never had, I don't ever recall having day conferences since I've been here.
It was like,
In the elementary.
maybe that was elementary.
When they were little.
K4s will do.
No, I mean, we didn't do K4 here, but they had, it was a couple years, but I think everybody just kind of switched
Oh,
away
okay.
from that. Came in the daytime.
So that first day is in person and the second day is virtual? Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure everybody's got clarity in relationship to that.
There's no hybrid this time. But teachers were still on site, but they were doing their virtuals. So some teachers were doing virtual from the seat, but they were also taking people. So,
Oh, if the teachers choose to,
but I mean, they were still in the gym, so it was still like they could.
right, and if the teachers can make it work, or if we're here to accommodate the needs of the parents, and so if you're in the gym and you got a Chromebook and somebody can do virtual and the time works, that's perfectly
When
fine.
is the open up for when do we open up for making those assignments?
I'll have to check with you. I'm not sure.
We're probably a little, we just needed to finish the count and stuff like that. So, but it'll probably be open typically that first week in February. So we'll give it a couple weeks to do that.
All right. Let's go on to our item number 8, motion and roll call vote to go into closed session. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, 1C, E, and F. The board may move into closed session for the purpose of A, discussion of potential action to issue a preliminary notice to consider the non-renewal of an administrator's contract pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 118.24. B, discussion of district administrator evaluation. C, motion and roll call vote to return to open session to announce or take action if any appropriate.
Okay, I'm gonna second that.
So motion has been made. All right, seconded by Ms. Bacon. Ms. Ashley, roll call vote.
Vito,
Aye.
Daniels Ashley, aye. Lincoln,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Robinson, Smith,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Ayes have it. It is
7:45.
7:45.
All right. So we will go into closed session now at 7:45. I think we will be coming back into open session once we finish for administrators' contracts. All right. Thank you very much for those individuals that have joined with us this evening. What we will be doing is coming back into open session. The site will continue to stay open until we come back in. Thank you very much. If you do have to go, we greatly appreciate your taking your time out of your busy schedules to be part of this school board meeting. We're back into open session. Now we're back in open session at 8:44 p.m. All right. Would someone like to make a motion? Oh, Are you, wait, stop, hold on. Are you good recording? All right. Would someone like to make a motion in relationship to administrators' employment agreements?
Dr. Vito, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2023 through 25 Administrators Employment Agreement for Shabala Brown as the Brown Deer High School Principal for the 2023 through 25 school years.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made. Do we have a second? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Macon. Motion has been made. Second, any conversation or discussion? And we did do evaluations on
Sorry.
all. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Who moved that? Who moved that approval?
Ms. Peterson made the motion and it was seconded by Ms. Macon. All right, and I just, before my. Did he leave?
Your open session.
Oh, I'm sorry, my fault. Okay, and I guess my thing is have all of these individuals had evaluations completed? And they all, I will take it, were satisfactory in their. Okay, all right, so motion has been made, has been seconded. All in favor will raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing seen none, motion carries unanimously 7-0 for Ms. Brown as continue on as the principal for the 2023 to 25 school years. Next.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Administrators Employment Agreement for Erica Probst as the Brown Deer High School Assistant Principal for the 2023 through 25 school year.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion's been made. Second by Ms. Macon. All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing seen none, motion carries unanimously 7-0. So for Ms. Probst as the high school assistant principal for 23-25. All right, next.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Administrators Employment Agreement for Kara Turner as the Director of Library and Instructional Technology for the 2023 through 25 school years.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made. We have a second. Thank you very much, Ms. Bacon. All right, motion has been made and seconded. Any conversation, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 7-0. Motion. Next.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Administrators Employment Agreement for Dennis Griffin Jr. as Brown Deer Elementary School Principal for the 2023 to 25 school years.
All right, motion has been made. Ms. Peterson made a motion. We have second. Ms. Bacon, all right. The second, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 7-0 for Mr. Griffin Jr. to continue to be the elementary school principal. Sorry. Well, we have one more. Motion.
She's got it.
She got it.
I'd like to make-
has the names.
Oh, Gerald McGregory. Oh, do you mean for the motion?
No, I just needed the name because I'm trying to get ahead of y'all.
Oh, Gerald McGregory.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Administrators Employment Agreement for Gerald McGregory as the K-12 Athletic and Activities Director for the 2023 through 25 school years.
All right, motion has been made. We have a second? All right. Let's make it a second. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 7-0 for Mr. McGregory to continue as the Athletic and Activities Director for the 23-25 academic years. All right. With that being said, now, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. All right, so now everybody wants to talk. All right. All right, so motion has been made by Ms. Walker. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Bacon is second. She's definitely putting her name in the record books for this meeting. All right. All in favor, raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? And all right, I call this meeting adjourned at 8:49 p.m. Thank you, ladies. And gentlemen, for attending our District of Broadview School Board meeting. Have a wonderful remainder of your evening and even better remainder of your week. Thank you and good night.